At 6 in the morning, I found the HOA president blocking my driveway screaming, "We'll seize your property by force if we have to." Her voice cracked, echoing across the quiet street while the smell of cheap perfume and desperation filled the air. I didn't flinch. I just smiled because the night before I'd found the smoking gun that would end her entire reign of fake authority. My name's Dalton Martinez. I'm 45, an electrician and small contractor who spent 2 decades fixing other people's problems, wiring panels, short circuits. But nothing I've ever worked on was as broken as the HOA I stumbled into when I bought this old farmhouse. After my divorce, I was done with apartment hell, paper-thin walls, screaming babies, and landlords who'd lose their minds if I parked my truck outside overnight. I wanted quiet, open space, and the right to do what I wanted with my own land. So when I found this 1940s farmhouse on Meadowlark Road, 2.3 acres, solid bones, and 50 feet outside the Willowbrook Estates HOA line, I thought I'd finally bought freedom. I checked county maps twice, even called the zoning office to confirm. Not in the HOA, they said. I remember standing there on move-in day, sweat running down my back in the September heat, staring at my little slice of peace. And then I heard tires crunching on gravel. A white Lexus glided in like a shark. Out stepped Brenda Kowalski, perfect blonde bob, tailored beige suit smile, sharp enough to cut glass. She looked like Martha Stewart's evil twin holding a wicker basket of scented soaps and muffins. "Welcome to Willowbrook Estates," she said sweetly, handing me the basket. Underneath it was a fat manila envelope, bylaws, covenants, and a handwritten note. "Please comply with HOA standards immediately." I told her politely at first, "Ma'am, I'm not in your HOA." I even pointed at the county marker down the road 50 feet exactly. Her smile twitched. Previous owners cooperated voluntarily. Community harmony benefits everyone. That's when I realized this wasn't a welcome visit, it was a declaration of war. Over the next week, yellow notices started showing up on my door. Violation, unauthorized exterior modifications. Another one for commercial vehicle in view, all signed by something called Willowbrook Code Enforcement Division. Looked official watermarked paper stamp signatures. But something about it didn't add up. The language was too formal, the fines too ridiculous. So I called the actual city code office. They'd never heard of those citations or that department. That's when I knew Brenda wasn't just some nosy neighbor, she was impersonating government authority. I started documenting everything. Photos, calls, timestamps. And while I was at it, I learned the old lady who'd owned my house, Mrs. Mila, had been harassed into selling. Her daughter Margaret told me Brenda had made her mother's life miserable. Fake inspections, threats, intimidation. She was obsessed with expanding the HOA, Margaret said. Mom thought it was about money. From that moment, I knew this wasn't personal. Brenda had a plan. A week later, a man showed up claiming to be a professional surveyor. He said the property line was wrong, and my shed was 15 feet inside HOA territory. His name was Rick, Brenda's brother-in-law. The guy was using equipment that looked like it came from a middle school science fair. When I asked for his state license number, he turned white and packed up like a street magician caught by cops. Still, the next morning, Brenda came strutting up my driveway, smirking like she'd won. "We'll need you to move that shed, Mr. Martinez," she said. I told her my lawyer would love to see her official survey. She smiled. "You can fight community standards if you want, but I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of contractor you are." That's when I realized she wasn't just targeting my property. She was going after my business, my reputation. Soon, rumors spread online. Posts on the neighborhood app claiming I was dangerous, that my work violated safety codes. One of my best clients called uneasy. "Dalton, some lady said you're under investigation for fraud." My stomach dropped. Brenda was methodically poisoning my name. For the first time in my life, I wanted to give up. I remember sitting at my kitchen table, surrounded by stacks of fake citations, drinking cold coffee that tasted like regret. Maybe it wasn't worth it. Maybe selling and moving away would be easier than fighting this psychopath. But then I replayed the voicemail from Margaret. My mom kept recording Dalton Brenda bragging about filing false reports. That sentence flipped a switch in me. I wasn't crazy. Brenda was a criminal. I listened to the old tapes, Brenda's voice crystal clear. If they resist, we file reports until they comply. She'd been running a harassment racket under the HOA banner. I called my lawyer Marcus Webb a calm, gray-haired man who'd spent 30 years untangling bureaucratic messes. He said, "Dalton, you're sitting on a goldmine of evidence. Keep collecting." So I did. And what I found next made my blood boil. The HOA was drowning in debt, $847,000 from a failed lawsuit against the city. Brenda had hidden the bankruptcy from every homeowner. She needed to expand the HOA to force new members, new dues, new victims to pay off her screw-ups. My property, my land, was supposed to be her lifeline. Once I had proof, I decided to hit back. Hard. Marcus and I built a case. Fraudulent documents, impersonation of government officials, harassment, financial concealment. We contacted a local reporter, Sarah Kim, who specialized in municipal corruption. And we petitioned for a special homeowners meeting backed by signatures from residents who'd had enough of Brenda's bullying. When Brenda realized I was organizing, she lost whatever sanity she had left. It started with calls to my insurance company, false claims about unsafe wiring. Then the gas company showed up on my lawn with emergency trucks claiming a reported leak. After 2 hours, the crew chief told me, "There's nothing wrong here. Someone's wasting our time." The someone was obvious. 3 days later, the IRS knocked on my door. Anonymous tip about tax evasion, they said. Then, immigration enforcement because apparently I wasn't American enough for Brenda. Each agency left frustrated and empty-handed. By then, it was clear she was spiraling. And then came the morning she snapped completely. I was loading tools into my truck when her Lexus screeched to a halt across my driveway. She jumped out, hair wild eyes, bloodshot, clutching a folder of papers like a weapon. "This ends now," she screamed. "You will submit to HOA authority or we'll seize your property by force." Neighbors peeked out from behind curtains. Some stepped outside, phones recording. I stayed calm, phone in hand. "You're trespassing, Brenda. Move your car." Her voice rose to a fever pitch. "You think you're above community standards? I am the law here." Mrs. Henderson from across the street called 911. When the police cruiser pulled up, Brenda didn't stop yelling. Officer Rodriguez listened patiently before saying, "Ma'am, you have no legal authority here. You need to move your vehicle." Brenda started crying, rambling about property values and moral decay while the officer gently guided her back to her car. I caught her eyes for a moment, and what I saw wasn't anger anymore. It was panic. 5 days later came the annual HOA meeting, the day her empire collapsed. The community center was packed with 60-plus residents, Channel 7 news cameras, Marcus at my side, and Officer Rodriguez in the back, just in case. Brenda walked in wearing her usual beige armor, pretending she still had control. "Welcome, everyone," she said into the mic, her voice tight. "Tonight, we'll discuss improvements, budget allocations, and recent external threats." Margaret stood up from the back row. "Before any budget talk, we need full financial disclosure," she said, her voice shaking. Murmurs spread. Brenda forced a smile. "That's not on the agenda." I stood then, box of documents in hand. "It is now." I walked to the front and placed copies of court judgments, foreclosure notices, and fake citations on the table. This HOA owes $847,000 in debt from a lawsuit Brenda lost, and she's been hiding it from every single one of you. The room went dead silent, then exploded in whispers. Brenda turned crimson. "Those are fabrications." "He's lying." Sarah Kim stepped forward, camera rolling. "Mrs. Kowalski, these are official court records. Can you confirm or deny them?" Brenda snapped. "I don't have to answer biased media," she shrieked, voice cracking. I connected my laptop to the projector. The screen lit up with photos of fake notices, video of Rick's phony survey audio of Brenda threatening Mrs. Mila. Gasps filled the room. "These aren't misunderstandings," I said. "They're crimes." She impersonated government officials, filed false emergency reports, and used intimidation to expand her control. Brenda lunged forward, pointing at me shaking. "You ruined this community. You destroyed our values." Officer Rodriguez stepped up, voice steady. "Ma'am, we've documented multiple threats and false filings under your name. You need to stop." But she didn't stop. She screamed the same phrase that had started it all. "We'll seize your property by force if we have to." Every camera caught it, every neighbor heard it. That was the end. Marcus raised the motion immediate removal of the entire board and an independent financial audit. Every hand in the room went up except Brenda's. When I walked out that night, the air felt lighter. I could finally breathe again. 2 weeks later, the county prosecutor filed 6 felony charges: fraud, false government reporting harassment, elder abuse. Brenda took a plea deal, 18 months probation, $50,000 restitution, and a lifetime ban from HOA leadership. Her real estate license was revoked. She sold her house to pay legal fees and vanished. I didn't celebrate. I just stood on my porch at sunset, the same one she'd once tried to claim, listening to the wind move through the oak trees. For months, I'd lived under her shadow, doubting myself, wondering if fighting back made me the villain she painted me to be. But in the end, the truth mattered more than comfort. Because sometimes protecting your peace means standing up to the people who abuse their power and proving that even in the quiet corners of suburbia, justice still exists.